All right, we're on the line now with handsome Chris Mitchell, talking all about his plans for 2016. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't start this interview. We got to reference a little bit about what you went through in 2015. I think it's a small miracle on its own that you didn't completely lose your love for the sport, because you really it was a challenging year to say the least. Are you all the way sort of rebounded from the ups and downs that you went through last year?
Absolutely. Health-wise, back on schedule. Feeling a lot better now. Ended up having a bit of trouble with the top vertebrae in my neck was the ultimate culprit that we found. And due to a lot of recommendations from many, many people, we ended up doing some acupuncture and feel like $1 million once again. So that's great in that regard. Car-wise, it was frustrating at best. We've talked about it many times as to what my opinion was on why things went the way they did. And we don't need to beat the dead horse, but, it was a challenge. And one of the things that we want to talk about at Chris Mitchell Racing and the guys that we deal with all the time is our ability to rebound from such a challenging season and to look at it as that. So rather than take the wind out of our sails, it was a learning experience. We've gained a lot of knowledge just in having to go through what we went through. So we'll focus on the positives and move forward into 2016 with a renewed focus on making up for what could have been in the past year.
Now, we're not going to talk about the car stuff, because you're right. We've gone over it a few different times, and I think everybody pretty much knows what happened. The wreck at Peterborough and sort of getting hammered from behind. What I want to get into a little bit is about the medical aspect. I don't really know how to the ramifications that it had on your body. Now, when you spoke with your doctor, the specialist that you talked to, what was the cause of what you went through, and can you sort of detail the symptoms a little bit? Because it's not something that I've ever heard of someone in our little community having gone through as a result of a racing incident.
Well, what probably could have been attributed, it's hard to necessarily pinpoint it, because unfortunately, no matter how good the quality of the doctor is, it's still a bit of a guessing game for them as well. There's been so much focus on so many sports with concussions and all that type of thing that it's very difficult to diagnose somebody with post-concussion when you don't have a baseline to start with. So unless you attend a concussion management clinic with the idea that you're going to get hurt, there'd be no reason why you would, if you were playing contact sports or something like that, you would go and establish that baseline so you could go back and reference to that in the future. So when you don't have that baseline to reference, it's very much a guessing game for them as to what exactly is going on. So it could have been an accumulation of things just from what happened at Delaware to then what happened at Flamborough to what happened at Peterborough. But one of the things that was brought to light is that a Hans device is a great device. There's no question that it is a safety item that will save your life. It stops a basilar skull fracture. However, it does not say anywhere that it can prevent injury. So although it does stop your neck from snapping off or snapping in two, it can cause your neck to stop immediately abruptly, which can still do some damage. It may prevent death, but it doesn't prevent injury 100%. So, everyone's fairly reluctant to point fingers or lay a blame directly on exactly how things happened. But what we found was that your top vertebrae in your neck is shaped like a wing nut, and your skull is designed to float on that, much like a bobblehead. And when you lose that ability to rotate your head and move it around freely, it just gives your brain the effect that you're a little bit in slow motion because you can't turn or move freely. So a lot of headaches and stuff just attributed through that. But the acupuncture and being able to identify that through some of the doctors that I saw out west were very, very good. And within 3 treatments, I was back feeling 100%. So.
Now, the odd part about it is that I guess you do see it in other sports where you don't notice the symptoms of it right away. Because I spoke with you that night, and you were lucid, you were fine. It didn't look like you had any issues whatsoever. But the symptoms started about a week later. It was relatively soon after the accident, was it not?
Yes, 1 week to the day actually was when the ultimate symptoms landed me in the hospital. And the attending physician in that particular case had talked about how it could have been something just as simple as at Peterborough, I was already stopped. So we'd been sitting there for a sec, right? So I'd actually started to reach down and fire the car back up to drive away because up until that point we were relatively unscathed. So I had my head turned and looked down a bit because with the full containment seat and the Hans device on, I can't exactly see my switches. So it could have been something as simple as that. And then maybe I'd grit my teeth a bit. And when I was hit so hard from behind, it could have, the idea that he suggested was that it had torn some of the lining between the very, very top of my jaw and the inner ear canal. And that it may not have torn all the way through at that point. But because I didn't slow down, I took the kids to the cottage immediately following that. We're slugging them around, luggage, coolers. Then when I got home, I was doing some work around the house, and the last thing I did was lifting a big heavy thing of limestone screening. So that could have been directly attributed to it. You know, it would be an awful coincidence that would not be related, but it's still something that the doctor, not knowing the full history, and you know, they're afraid to pinpoint something that they're not fully familiar with, right? To give you a concrete 100% diagnosis when they're not fully informed on the exact situation. So that's what they suggested. I can't help but feel that that's the same thing. I thought I felt fine, but my family members had mentioned that I would fall asleep easily, you know, fairly irritable, which, you know, I just wrecked a race car for the third time in a row. That's
when you wreck a $50,000 piece of machinery, I think I'd be pretty irritable too.
So maybe that was part of it. So I didn't think that there was anything out of the ordinary from behind my eyeballs, but you know, the people in my life suggested that maybe that wasn't the case. So it maybe just culminated with a little trip to the hospital, which ironically enough was immediately treatable. And that portion, when I lost the inner eardrum, it was basically vertigo, right? So couldn't stand up, grand disorientation repeatedly, like just the worst seasickness, but you don't feel any better after you get sick, so you just get sick over and over and over again. So once I got some medication for it was fine. It went away very, very quickly. Hasn't returned, knock on wood. And with the other treatments that we've been seeking, we're feeling great.
So has this played any role in, have you thought about maybe stepping away from active competition because of this incident, or the fact that it was so easily treatable? Are you ready to sort of move past it and get back to racing this year?
Well, like we said, our challenges last year were maybe exacerbated through the health stuff as well, and then just my time. So, you know, it wasn't so much that we were so frustrated with the sport that we were ready to give it up. It was just a matter of circumstance. So, like I said, we've accepted that that was a huge challenge, and if I can overcome that challenge, there's, you know, if we can overcome that in a season like that, then there's absolutely nothing to stop us from doing great things moving forward. So, for now, we're going to focus just on running a limited late at Peterborough Speedway again. We're actively working towards APC. That's our goal. We want to stay with the APC series and APC stuff. You know, we're looking for marketing partners actively. We've been a couple leads, continuing to stay focused on that. We're very positive towards moving towards a great team and some good sponsorship relationships for the APC series. But I can't just sit and wait for that to happen either. So I have every single piece that I need here to rebuild the car we ran last year as a limited late model. So if our APC stuff doesn't come together, it's not going to be a last minute scramble to try and get something ready to run either Peterborough or Sunset or some limited late model shows. Even if it's just select ones, we'll have the car completely ready, turnkey right away. And there's not a thing I need to buy. I have everything that I need. So we'll be in great shape with that car. And then if the proper opportunities present themselves with the APC, which is where we want to be, then we will go ahead and acquire a new chassis for that. I have complete driveline from what we ran last year. I need another chassis to put that together. So if that opportunity presents itself, then we'll move forward with that as well.
Now, jog my memory. Have you completed a full season as a Peterborough Speedway limited late model racer yet?
No, and again, just time constraints. You know, I can't be in two places at once. So JP and David put in a new deal at Peterborough Speedway where the points will go to the car. So if we can, you know, if we start working towards running a full season at Peterborough, and even if we just put together a program to run a few select APC races, then maybe we'll do that as well. And then if there's nights that conflict, then we'll look at putting another driver in the car for those events.
So then all of a sudden, I mean, Peterborough, it feels like is getting deeper by the month here, because I just spoke with Brian Sudbury, and he said the same thing. I mean, Rick Walt's program is very good. All of a sudden, Mike Wallace has got a great car. He's got that Brian Watts car that's almost brand new, so he's got a very good program. Tyler Betts is still one of the most underrated drivers in the province. Dave Morgan is very good. Brian Mercer's very good when he shows up. Ryan Kimball, I'm told, is going to run full-time this year. So all of a sudden, it gets deep in a hurry. And, I mean, if Sunset is the number one, Peterborough is a very close number two if everyone shows up at the same time.
It's no joke to run at Peterborough Speedway anymore. I mean, I shouldn't even say anymore, but it's no secret that there was a period of time there where there was a struggle where it was 6 late models there on any given Saturday night. So now that's a thing of the past, and it's good for JP. He's been the last man standing, so to speak. So it'd be nice to see them renew some focus on maybe doing some upgrades to the facility there to make it a little more raceable. And by that, again, it's not a big secret that the outside groove there could use some attention. They've tried the route with the sticky stuff. Maybe there's a different way that can be applied, or maybe the guys at VP can spend a little more time on, maybe it needs to be applied every other week, or I'm not sure if that's any benefit or not. I'm not an expert in that field by any stretch, but if we could do something towards that, then all of a sudden it makes those 12 and 14 car nights where there's, the list that you just rattled off there, any one of those cars is capable of winning. And unfortunately right now, it's going to be a bit of the follow of the leader. So there'll be some just the placement of the way that the features lined up is of great importance there. So if they could do something to make it the way that Sunset was, where you could have some side-by-side racing and not just get freight trains, then that would be a pretty awesome show at Peterborough Speedway for sure.
So it's interesting that you're going to be back full-time. I love it. I think that's great, especially after the year you had last year and the medical issues that you went through. And it really, I never heard it from your lips, but it really was starting to feel like maybe this might be it for Chris. With all the adversity, you start to wonder. So it's awesome that you're coming back. I love to hear that. But in the meantime, you've also done a lot of work outside of the driver's seat. You've done some work within the racing industry, car chief, crew chief type stuff. You were down at the Snowflake 100 with Martin Latulippe. You guys qualified your way into the show, his first time there, which is a gigantic accomplishment all on its own when we sent almost half the field home. So tell me a little bit about that venture, what that could lead to, and how much fun are you having being at the racetrack and not racing?
Well, we've talked a bunch of times about how the setup of the cars and the puzzle of figuring them out is one of the biggest things that appeals to me about the sport. So when I had the opportunity to work with Martin, I jumped at that chance. We get along great. I mean, we've kind of got that relationship where we can communicate very well with one another. He can tell me what he needs, and we've been able to work with some of the best in the business to be able to get that. And that's one of the coolest things about working with him is the learning side of things for me, because he'll do whatever it takes. So whether we're working with Dean Clattenburg or we're working with Seth that was working on Kyle Busch's stuff, we were able to gain a bunch of knowledge there that even though they're not working together anymore, Martin still had access to that kind of information. And he was working with the guys from Steve Strasburg from Race Car Help, and now he's working with Augie Grill. So, there's so many guys that he's able to glean information from, and he's got a motor guy, he's got a shock guy, he's got a chassis guy. And when you work with him, you get the opportunity to speak with all of those guys. So every time I get a chance to learn more and more myself as well. So it's a really cool gig to work with him. Like you say, it's a huge accomplishment just to do what we did at Five Flag Speedway, just to show up, how many, 140 total late models or something on the ground between the Super and the Pros. 60 of them at least, I believe, were pro late models.
And the best in North America. I mean, everybody is either there or they're trying to get there. I mean, you really can't downplay how good of a field it really is.
Extraordinarily diverse, and you see from the young guns with seemingly limitless pockets right through to the guy that comes in on the open trailer, right? Like it's a pretty cool, pretty diverse field, and certainly some of the best equipment you can find in North America. So to be able to run as well as we did there, the motor incident was extraordinarily unfortunate. We missed that big wreck right at the beginning of the Snowflake race, which would have moved us up a ton of positions. I think that car would have raced a lot better than we qualified, because we went out really, really early in the qualifying order in full sun. And one thing about Five Flag Speedway is that the track temperature can dramatically change a lap time, as you're well aware. So, it was great to get in on time, and just unfortunate the way that things went. And look forward to working with Martin in the future. We're looking at running some races here early this year. We tried to get ready for Speedfest, but his super late model won't be done. Augie unfortunately ran out of time, and Augie works with his father every day. Frankie is, and very well lately, so he hasn't been in the shop much. So it's been tough for him to get everything done. So unfortunately, we're going to miss Speedfest, but we will be running the CRA race at Greenville Pickens, and then hopefully run Speed Weeks with the Pro and the Super.
So that's going to be a gigantic undertaking, because taking one car to New Smyrna is a lot, because they're long days. I mean, there's a lot of guys in Ontario that have gone down there and done it. I'm sure Greg Gibson, when he listens to this interview, is going to be nodding his head off, knowing how long of a day it can be. I mean, you're there at 9 in the morning and you're leaving at, 1 in the evening, 1 in the morning the next day. I mean, it's a grind. So to go there with 2 cars, that's going to be wild. The field down there, they've already got Derek Thorne and Ty Majeski were the 2 first super late models to enter. So it's going to be a crazy field as well. You've got to be really looking forward to it, because if you learned a lot over the Snowflake 100 weekend, that was just really 3 days of being at the track, you're going to learn a ton being there for 9 straight nights.
Well, don't forget we did the practice as well at Five Flags before the week, so we had a chance to work one-on-one with Augie there. We were just working on Martin's car. There was no other distractions or anything for him trying to run his own stuff, so we were able to, any questions we had or anything we were curious about, we were able to work through before that as well. So carrying that forward into the next few races, hopefully we can learn some stuff from them. And by the time we get to Florida, we'll have, a fairly reasonably thick notebook on a bunch of adjustments that we've made and how the cars responded, how Martin's responded to those changes. And you can't take it away from him. I mean, he did win the championship there 1 year already. Last year he set fast time. Unfortunately, the rear end broke and crashed coming off corner 4. But, the kid can get around a track, there's no question. And as long as we can keep the car under him. I mean, the longest portion of that will be if you get into the wrecking stuff or breaking some stuff where you're trying to get it fixed in time for the next night, right? So it can be a long old night when you're trying to get a rear clip straightened out and get a new body hung on it in time to get back out for the next day. So
that's pit area. That's pit area, and I've been there. I've been there with Dwayne Baker. I've been there with Jason Parker. Not working, just sort of observing. Let me make that perfectly clear. I wasn't getting my hands dirty, but I was standing there. I was looking. That pit area at 2 in the morning, when you're the only team there and it's pitch dark all around you, is the loneliest place in the world when you're putting a race car back together again to try to be ready for 9 a.m. when practice starts. So let's hope you guys don't get into the weeds there and start wadding stuff up, because that's when things really start to get crazy. I know that Martin typically runs a pretty abbreviated schedule due to his work commitments. So does that tie into, you can work with him when Ontario is not racing, come home, do your own stuff, and then sort of jump back on the road with him in the fall and early winter next year? Is that what you're hoping to do?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a big budget, right? He likes running the shows in the States, and that's the ones that he's able to do because it's not like it's a weekly show in and out. So he can pick and choose the bigger events that he wants to be a part of, and when he focuses on doing stuff like that, we're able to assemble a crack team, if you will, and everybody hops on an airplane, or we make arrangements prior to, and it's a little bit easier to get a good group of guys put together, and that's going to alleviate some of the workload, right? So, we had a good group put together for the snowball, and we all worked great together, and look forward to trying to maybe use some of those guys in the future again if our schedules permit. And if not, there's other guys that come to mind immediately that would probably be good fits for that team as well. So as long as all things come together and Martin and I are able to maintain that relationship, which we've been able to do since we met, 6 or 7 years ago now. So I don't see any reason why we can't remain as competitive. I mean, it's not like he hasn't competed against guys in that level of talent and quality of equipment before. So there's absolutely no reason why we can't get there and be part of the big show right at the front.
So is this something you eventually want to focus on doing in Ontario as well? When the time does come to step back from actively driving, because I know you don't want to race forever. That's the general feeling I get from speaking with you, but you want to be involved in the sport for as long as possible. So does that eventually mean that it's inevitable you're going to get to the point where you want to play crew chief and car chief to a team and maybe do a lot more work behind the scenes?
Yeah, I'm nowhere near the point where I need to retire, but there's no question that the fearlessness of some of the younger guys that are coming up through the ranks. I mean, you think of guys like just two that instantly would pop to mind could be Danny Benedict or Brandon McFerrin. These are two guys the Lapsevich guys, they all ton of talent, the fearlessness of youth on their side and stuff. And I'm very passionate about this sport. So when the time comes where I'm ready to step back, that doesn't mean that I just want to fade into non-existence or just disappear from it. So if there's a way that I could put together a deal with somebody to be able to share the knowledge that I have accumulated and, the opportunities to get and go down to the States and work with all these big names in the sport, it's only going to grow that knowledge base. So, it's no different here. The guys that we have in Ontario, I have a great relationship with Mike McCall. I have a great relationship with Dan McCaddy. I have a great relationship with Brian McDonald. I mean, these are some of the forefront guys that you'd think of set up and chassis-wise in Ontario. And I've got great relationships with all those guys. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this noggin that I don't just want to let go to waste. So if I could put a deal together with somebody, absolutely, that would be something I would love to do. And hopefully I can help one of these guys continue to be successful. And, I wouldn't be opposed to utilize my equipment with the right sponsorship in place. And, I've got the truck, I've got the trailer, I've got the pit equipment, I've got the tools, I've got the vehicles, I've got everything that we'd ever need. So if it gets to a point where I'm ready to step out from behind the wheel, then I can help in any aspect, from driver coach to crew chief to renting my equipment to whatever aspect takes place.
See, that's something that's something that I'm surprised hasn't really caught on in Ontario is the driver coaching reliable rental program type deal. There's not a lot of them in Ontario. Tom Walters had a pretty famous one with Sean Grossman. Grossman, of course, moved on to form his own team, so that's not really a thing anymore. There's not a lot of guys that have sort of formed a relationship where one entity is the clear-cut driver and he rents the equipment and he shows up and he gets coached and he sort of gets whatever guidance he needs. It's everywhere when you go to the States, from New York to Florida and back. It's just not something that's caught on in Ontario, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that sort of jump off in the next couple of years.
Well, if there's the opportunity for that to occur, then yes, I agree with you. It's an expensive undertaking, but what people need to realize is if they're moving up a class, is that if they want to be immediately competitive, then that's possible to happen in today's day and age. You can do that. So where it was, we'll get a cheap car and we'll work on it together, and we'll start slow and work towards a goal. There's no reason why one of these young lads can't just strap themselves into a good quality piece and immediately be out there running for the wins. There's no reason. I mean, you've seen it happen 1,000 times yourself. We just watched it happen at New Smyrna in the last big race down there, right? Like it's, this kid shows up and beats some of the best, right? And there's no reason why that can't happen in Peterborough or Sunset or any track where that's an opportunity if the right people are put together, and that's mostly I think what needs to happen is just to have the right group that could come together immediately and gel. And one of the ones that comes to mind that might happen this year is the Ledson boys. If they do get some running time in those late models, then they could be something to deal with right out of the gate.
Because he's ready. Nick Ledson is ready to move out of Legends cars. I think he's won everything there is to win in a Legend car in Ontario. Some things he's won more than once. I think he's like a 3-time Tour champion. He's won all their marquee races. He's gone to the Winter Nationals in Orlando. He's performed really well down there. And both times he's gone in a limited late model, he's looked really, really good. So I think you're absolutely right. I would kill to see what Nick Ledson could do with a full-fledged limited late model program, a really good limited late model program, if I can get it out, under him for the 2016 season.
Yeah, and we would be remiss to say that there's not some learning curve there, which obviously there is. But that's where the idea of not just being the guy, here's my equipment, go, where you can talk to them and a lot of that's mental, right? Because all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this, and there's so many things probably going through that person's mind where they're not necessarily confident and composed on the outside, but on the inside they're nervous as heck. So if you had somebody on the radio with you that was just able to talk you through it, I was really, really lucky enough that in the spotter stand at the Snowflake race, I was standing beside Gary Crooks. And to listen to the way that he speaks on that radio with Zane Smith is phenomenal. I mean, the man is so smooth, unrattled, 100% confident as driver all the time, and just keeps him so calm behind the wheel. And I mean, obviously, Zane's not a very excitable kid, but just the relationship that they have very much reminds me of what I may be able to do with somebody else here, because most of the time I tend to stay pretty even keel too. So, if I could help talk a kid through the opportunity to get behind the wheel and perform at his best right out of the gate, then that would be something that I think would be an awesome fit for my future.
I've seen firsthand that even when you have a $50,000 piece of equipment destroyed through no fault of your own, you're also still even keel. So I can attest to that. I was there. I kept waiting for the blow up. I was sort of cringing, like when you stare into a lamp for too long and you start to squint your eyes a little bit. I was waiting for it. It never came. You were pretty calm. So you're absolutely right. If you can handle that, you could probably handle being on the radio for an inexperienced driver.
Well, at the end of the day, there's no rewind button. So every time we strap ourselves in those cars, we take that chance, and it's not just you that you need to worry about. It's no different than driving down the 401 in a snowstorm, right? You may be able to handle your own car at any given time, but there's no accounting for the guy beside you may or may not do. So it happens. Unfortunately, I got all mine together, and good bad things happen in three. So I guess we got all three. So hopefully that's the end of that stuff, and we can move forward and enjoy a bunch more checkered flags again.
Now, you're one of the racers in Ontario that still keeps your finger on the pulse of things going on outside of your speedway and outside of your division. A lot of guys, if they run mini stock, they can tell you about the mini stock division at their home track. Maybe they can tell you about the top tier guys away from their speedway, and that's about it. Same could be said for a lot of late model guys. You pretty much know what's going on just about everywhere because you were a fan long before you were a competitor. So we'll do a whole preview interview in the next couple of weeks and months whenever we get home from Speed Weeks. But right now, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you could pick one driver to be the breakout story of 2016, what's the first name that comes to your head?
Danny Benedict.
Nice. See, I'm interested as hell to see how that's going to work out because I think he has an abundance of raw talent, but to run in that Sunset late model division, it's going to take a lot more than just raw natural ability, if you know what I'm saying. Absolutely. And they're putting some stuff together in the off season and in behind the scenes to make that car as competitive as it can possibly be. And they're going to do everything in their power to be able to run right out of the gate. But Dan's the kid that I was talking about, where I'm just afraid that he doesn't know how good he is, and I love that about him. But at the same time, he needs to embrace that and to go with it. And I don't want to say to be cocky, but to be confident in his skill set and let himself just rely on his intuition, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because he seems from the races that I've watched, and that's one of the reasons why we got on board with some sponsorship stuff with him, was just that he seems to be able to read the track, to read what's happening in front of him, to be able to try to steer clear a lot of the garbage. And we all get caught up in it. It is what it is. But for the most part, pretty heads up kid, and I think he'll be good. Chris Mitchell, I appreciate the time, sir. I appreciate your time. You were playing poker for most of tonight. You were willing to talk to me afterwards, so I'm assuming you probably did pretty well. Did you make any money tonight? I made a little bit. Nothing to write home about, but one of the things I enjoy to do in my off time is the same deal. I enjoy the challenge of it and the technical aspects of dissecting the poker hand. So any opportunity I get to do that, I love to take part as much as I can. And I'm not doing that. We're back with the race cars, and every now and then we try to get a little bit of work in there. Any night you can walk out with your shirt, wallet, and watch, it's a good night. That goes for casinos and blind dates. It's the same rule. Shirt, wallet, and watch. You're coming out ahead. I appreciate the time, sir. We'll get back with you a little bit after Speed Weeks. We'll do a whole season preview. So all the best. We'll see you down in New Smyrna. I'm excited to see what Martin Latulippe can put together and what you can do to get the old frame co number 84 to the front. Yep, we're looking forward to it. That's our plan at this point. Things with him change every day, like this deal with trying to get to Speed Fest. But as long as things carry on that way, we'll be there for sure. And then by the time I get home, hopefully Dan will have the
chassis all finished up, we'll be able to get it put back together, and we'll be ready to go by the end of February with our limited late for sure, and keep focusing on trying to get that APC deal together.
All the best. Thanks very much, Chris.
Thank you, Spencer.
That's handsome Chris Mitchell getting ready to come back running full-time this year at Peterborough Speedway. Add him to the long list of contenders getting ready for the 2016 Peterborough Speedway Track Championship.